The offering was where the forgotten came to be claimed. And as Vespera stood among the desperate wolves who had been passed over or abandoned, she prayed to every god she knew that no one would choose her. A high silver collar wrapped around her throat, concealing the mark she could never let anyone see. Her hands remained gloved, her scent carefully suppressed by the bitter herbs she had swallowed that morning. The crowd whispered about her, wondering what kind of wolf would hide so completely at an event designed for display. They were not wrong to wonder. Beneath the collar lay her curse. Beneath the gloves lay hands that had once stopped her mother's heart. Vespera was a sorrow singer, born with power that destroyed everything she dared to love. She had come to the offering only because her father demanded it. She had planned to be overlooked, to return home having fulfilled her obligation without consequence. Then the Alpha King arrived. Sorin of Valdrin, beautiful, brutal, cold as the death that followed in his wake, walked past daughters of high lords and ladies of noble blood without a glance. He stopped directly in front of Vespera. "Her," he said. The hall erupted in chaos. Why would a king who could claim anyone choose the one woman hiding everything? Vespera did not understand either. Not until that night, when his hands learned her body in the darkness and something ancient and terrifying snapped into place between them. A mate bond. By dawn, she was gone. And the Alpha King began his hunt. The great hall of Valdrin's northern fortress had been transformed into a glittering stage for the offering. Candles floated in suspended iron chandeliers, casting warm light across silk banners and polished stone. The scent of roasted meat and honeyed wine filled the air, mingling with the nervous anticipation of dozens of unmated wolves. Vespera hated every moment of it. She stood near the far pillar, as close to the shadows as protocol would allow. Around her, other unmated females preened and positioned themselves, adjusting necklines and practicing demure smiles. They wanted to be seen. They wanted to be chosen. Vespera wanted to disappear. Her silver collar sat high on her throat, the metal cold against her skin. It was not decorative, though it appeared to be. Beneath it lay the mark, a constellation of pale scars that glowed faintly when her emotions surged, the mark of a sorrow singer, the mark of destruction. "Stop fidgeting," her sister Rowena whispered, appearing at her side. Her tone carried the familiar edge of disapproval. "Father is watching, and you are already embarrassing enough without drawing more attention." Vespera's gaze flickered to the edge of the hall, where Lord Hadrian Voss stood with other nobles, his expression pleasant, and his eyes frigid. He had commanded her to attend, had threatened consequences if she refused. But he had also assured her that no one of significance would choose a woman who refused to show her throat or bare her hands. "Just survive the evening," Vespera told herself. "Then you can go home." The offering had been going on for nearly an hour. Several women had already been claimed, led away by alphas who had paid the required tribute to their families. One woman wept quietly in the corner, unchosen for the third year in a row. Vespera envied her. "Perhaps Lord Merrick will choose you," Rowena said, nodding toward a thick-necked alpha with a cruel mouth. "He has been staring, though I cannot imagine why anyone would want damaged goods." Before Vespera could respond, the great doors burst open. Not literally. But the force that entered the hall was so overwhelming, so absolute, that it felt like an explosion. Every wolf in the room dropped their gaze instinctively. Several females whimpered. One male stumbled backward into a table, sending goblets crashing to the floor. Alpha King Sorin of Valdrin had arrived. Vespera had heard stories about him. Everyone had. They said he was cursed. They said he felt nothing. No joy, no sorrow, no warmth. They said his father had died protecting the kingdom from a dark magic attack 10 years ago, and that Sorin had inherited something worse than a crown. They said he was slowly becoming a monster. Looking at him now, Vespera understood why the rumors persisted. He was tall, broader than any alpha she had ever seen, with black hair that fell past his jaw and eyes the color of a winter storm. He moved through the crowd like death itself, unhurried and inevitable. The nobles parted before him. No one dared speak. "What is he doing here?" Rowena breathed. "He has never attended an offering." The king walked past the daughter of the high commander, past the niece of the Eastern warden, past a woman so beautiful that poets had written verses about her eyes. He did not spare any of them a glance. He stopped in front of Vespera. Up close, he was even more overwhelming. The chill radiating from him was not natural. It seeped into her bones, made her breath fog faintly in the air between them. His scent was winter itself, pine and frost and something darker beneath. Those storm-colored eyes fixed on her face, then dropped to her collar, to her gloved hands, to all the places she had hidden herself. "Her," he said. Vespera's blood turned to ice. "Your Majesty." Lord Hadrian materialized beside them, his voice smooth despite the shock in his eyes. "Surely you cannot mean my daughter. She is unworthy of such an honor. There are far more suitable." "I said her." The king's voice cut through her father's protests like a blade through silk. "Unless you wish to deny your king." Silence crashed over the hall. The king extended his hand to Vespera. She stared at it, at the long fingers and powerful palm, knowing that if she took it, everything would change. "I do not wish to be chosen," she whispered. Something flickered in those pale eyes. Not offense, not anger. Something that almost looked like curiosity. "Neither did I," he said quietly. "And yet, here we are." Her hand rose of its own accord, trembling fingers settling against his palm. His skin was ice cold, and deep inside her chest, something ancient stirred and began to wake. He took her to his chambers. Not the great royal suite, she would learn later, but a private room in the eastern tower where no servants came without summons. The space was sparse, a massive bed draped in dark furs, a fireplace burning low, a window overlooking the moonlit forest below. Soren released her hand the moment the door closed behind them. He walked to the window and stood with his back to her, a wall of black clothing and rigid shoulders. "You are afraid?" he said. It was not a question. "Yes," Vespera admitted. "Of me. Of everything." He turned then, and the firelight caught the sharp planes of his face, the shadows beneath his eyes. He looked exhausted, she realized. Exhausted and ancient despite being no older than 30. "I will not force you," he said. "Whatever claims I made in that hall, whatever rights tradition grants me tonight, I will not take what is not freely given." This was not what she had expected. The stories painted him as unfeeling, capable of cruelty without remorse. But the man standing before her simply looked tired. "Then why choose me?" she asked. "You could have had anyone. Why the woman hiding in the shadows?" Soren studied her for a long moment. "Because you were the only one in that room who did not want to be chosen. Everyone else wanted something from me. Power, status, access to the throne. You wanted to be invisible." His head tilted slightly. "I have spent 10 years surrounded by people who see my crown. You are the first to see nothing at all." "I see plenty," Vespera whispered. "I see someone cold in a way that is not natural. And I see someone alone. Perhaps as alone as I am." The king went completely still. "Remove your gloves," he said. Fear shot through her. "Your Majesty." "You saw my truth. Now I wish to see yours." Slowly, Vespera removed her gloves. Her hands were unremarkable at first glance, but when Soren's fingers wrapped around hers, the scars began to glow. Faint silver lines traced across her palms, up her wrists, disappearing beneath her sleeves. "A sorrow singer," Soren breathed. "I thought your kind had been hunted to extinction." "Nearly," Vespera confirmed. My mother was the last known singer. She died giving birth to me. My first cry stopped her heart. She waited for the revulsion. Instead, Soren lifted her glowing hand and pressed his lips to her scarred palm. Then we are both monsters, he said against her skin, both cursed, both alone. Perhaps that is why I found you. When he kissed her, Vespera's world shattered and rebuilt itself in the space of a heartbeat. The mate bond snapped into place between them with an almost audible crack. Mate. The word echoed through her soul. No, this could not be happening. Sorrow singers could not have mates. The bond would amplify everything she felt, and when she loved, truly loved, her power would consume him. But her body did not care about logic. They came together in the darkness like two storms colliding. Later, as Soren slept beside her, Vespera lay awake and stared at the ceiling. She could feel the bond now, a golden thread connecting her heart to his. It was beautiful. It was devastating. Because with each beat of her heart, she felt her power growing stronger, feeding on the connection. She could not stay. If she stayed, if she let herself love him, her power would destroy him. The same power that had killed her mother would stop the heart of the only man who had ever looked at her without fear. Tears slipped down her temples as she carefully extracted herself from his arms. At the door, she paused and looked back at the king sleeping in the moonlight. "I am sorry," she whispered. Then Vespera fled into the dawn. Soren woke to emptiness. He reached across the bed, seeking the warmth that had been there hours ago. His hand found only vacant furs. His eyes snapped open. The space beside him was empty. Her scent lingered, that intoxicating combination of moonflower and something deeper. But Vespera herself was gone. Her clothes, her gloves, that damned silver collar. No, he breathed. He was on his feet in an instant, searching the chamber with growing desperation. Only one thing remained. On the windowsill, glinting in the pale morning light, lay a single hairpin. Silver, shaped like a crescent moon, with tiny diamonds embedded in the curve. It must have fallen from her hair during the night. Soren picked it up, and the metal seemed to pulse against his palm. The mate bond. He could feel it now, a thread of gold stretching from his chest toward the east, toward her. It was faint, strained by distance, but it was there. She had left him. His mate had left him. Something fractured inside Soren's chest. Not the curse, not the chill that had become his constant companion. Something older, something that had been frozen for so long he had forgotten it existed. Rage. Hot, consuming, absolutely savage rage. The wolf inside him, dormant for nearly a decade, stirred and opened its eyes. She cannot have gone far. Lord Commander Fenris stood rigid before the throne. The castle has been sealed since midnight. No one leaves without... She left. Soren cut him off. Through the eastern tower window. There are vines along that wall, old enough to hold a climber's weight. Fenris blinked. You tracked her route? I tracked everything. Her scent. Her path. The exact moment she stopped running and started walking because she believed she was far enough to be safe. The Lord Commander shifted uneasily. In 10 years of service, he had never seen the king display emotion. Now the temperature in the throne room was dropping with each passing second, frost spreading across the stone floor. Your Majesty, Fenris said carefully, perhaps the woman simply changed her mind. If you wish, I can send a formal complaint to her father. She is my mate. The words fell like an executioner's blade. Fenris paled. Your Majesty? The bond formed last night. For the first time in 10 years, I felt something other than cold. His fist closed around the hairpin until the metal bit into his palm. And she ran from me. What are your orders? Soren turned toward the great windows. Somewhere out there, Beyond the forests and mountains, his mate was fleeing. She thought she could escape him. She was wrong. "Summon the hunters," Soren said quietly. "Every tracker in the kingdom." "Your Majesty, if word spreads that the king is hunting a woman—" "I am not hunting a woman." Soren's eyes found Fenris's, and the commander flinched at what he saw in them. "I am hunting my queen." 3 days into the hunt, they found her trail. A merchant remembered a woman in a silver collar buying supplies. A stable hand recalled a cloaked figure trading a jeweled ring for a fast horse. A farmer swore he had seen someone matching her description riding east toward the Thornwood. "She is heading for the eastern crossing," Fenris said, tracing the map. "If she reaches the border, she can disappear into the nomad territories." "She will not reach the border." Soren swung onto his horse, a massive black destrier bred for war. "The curse," Fenris began. "The curse is my burden. If I do not return within a fortnight, assume the worst and name my cousin as heir." Then Soren was riding, the forest swallowing him like a hungry mouth. He found her on the 5th day. She had made camp in a shallow cave at the base of a rocky outcropping. Her horse grazed nearby. A small fire flickered at the entrance, and Vespera sat with her back against the stone wall, her silver collar removed for the first time since he had met her. Soren approached silently, but the mate bond worked both ways. She felt him coming. Her head snapped up, and their eyes met across the firelight. Those amber eyes widened with shock, then fear, then something that looked almost like relief. "How did you find me?" she whispered. Soren stepped into the light. He knew he looked half wild after 5 days of hard riding. "You took my heart with you when you left," he said. "Did you think I would not follow?" Vespera rose slowly, her hand moving toward a dagger at her belt. "You should not have come. Do you understand what I am? What will happen if—" "I know exactly what you are." He moved closer. "A sorrow singer, born with power that killed your mother, raised to believe your love is poison. You ran because you thought staying would destroy me." Tears gathered in her amber eyes. "It will. The bond is amplifying my power. When I finally love you, my power will stop your heart just like it stopped hers. Then let it." He was close enough to touch her now. "I am already dying, Vespera. The desolation curse is killing me slowly, freezing me from the inside. My healers give me less than a year." She stared at him. "What? You are not the only one keeping secrets." He raised his hand, and frost crystallized in his palm before dissolving. "The curse should have killed me years ago. It would have, if I could feel anything strongly enough to trigger it. But last night I felt everything." His voice cracked. "For the first time in a decade, I was warm. You did that." He stepped closer still. "So tell me, mate, what is the greater cruelty, dying frozen and alone, or dying warm, having finally known what it means to love?" Vespera was crying now, her scars blazing with pale luminescence. "I do not want to hurt you. I know. I am terrified. So am I." His lips pressed against her hair. "Be terrified with me." The fire had burned down to embers by the time Vespera finished speaking. She told him everything, about growing up in a house where her power was treated as a curse, about the collar her father had commissioned from dark practitioners, designed to suppress her abilities. About the night she had overheard her father speaking with a hooded figure, laughing about the curse that would slowly destroy the royal bloodline. "He told me that if I ever spoke of it," Vespera said, her voice hollow, "he would tell the kingdom what I was. A sorrow singer, a monster. The people would tear me apart." Soren sat across the dying fire, his expression carved from stone. "He sent you to the offering," Soren said slowly. "Yes. Knowing I might choose you." "No, he—" Vespera stopped. Her face paled. "He said no one of significance would choose me." And yet a servant in your household sent word to the castle that an unmated woman of rare bloodline would be attending. That message reached my advisors. They suggested I attend. His jaw tightened. Your father knew exactly what he was doing. The truth settled over Vespera like a shroud. He wanted me to bond with you, she breathed. He wanted me to love you, because he knew my power would finish what his curse started. Soren rose, pacing like a caged predator. 10 years. 10 years he has waited, knowing that all he needed was the right catalyst. He laughed bitterly, and the catalyst was his own daughter. Do you see now? Your father is counting on you to flee, to let the curse take me naturally. But if you stay, if we find a way to control your power instead of letting it destroy. It cannot be controlled, Vespera said. My father tried everything. Your father was not trying to control it. He was trying to weaponize it. Everything he did was designed to make you unstable, to turn your power into a bomb with a delayed fuse. His thumbs traced circles on her wrists. But what if someone helped you understand your abilities instead of fearing them? Hope flickered in her chest. Do you know someone who could do that? There is a woman in the northern reaches, a scholar who has dedicated her life to studying the old powers. She was my mother's closest friend before the curse. You trust her? She is the reason I am still sane. Soren's voice softened. She bought me 10 years, Vespera. Perhaps she can do the same for you. And if she cannot help? If my power is truly beyond control? Then we face that together. His grip tightened. I am tired of being alone. If your love kills me, at least I will die warm. Vespera surged forward, throwing her arms around his neck. He was cold, so cold, but his arms wrapped around her with desperate strength. I do not know how to stop being afraid, she whispered against his skin. We will learn. They left the cave at first light. He will know you found me, Vespera said as they rode through shadowed paths. His spies are everywhere. Let him know. Fear is a weapon, and I have spent 10 years perfecting it. He is not easily frightened. He planned the assassination of a king. He planned the assassination of my father. The correction was sharp as a blade. He did not plan for you. What do you mean? Your father sees you as a weapon, a tool. He does not understand that weapons can choose their wielders. Soren met her gaze. You are not his anymore, Vespera. You are mine, and I protect what is mine. The possessiveness in his voice should have frightened her. Instead, it made warmth bloom in her chest. She was falling for him. I can feel it, Soren said quietly. The bond. It grows stronger when you look at me like that. Vespera quickly looked away. Do not hide from me. Not anymore. I would rather feel your emotions and face the consequences than return to the numbness of before. Even if those emotions kill you? Especially then. They camped that night beside a frozen stream that should not have existed in early autumn. Soren's presence affected the environment around him, she realized. The colder he felt, the more the world froze to match. Does it hurt? She asked. The curse? It did at first. Now I barely notice. His eyes found hers across the flames. Until you. I keep thinking about my mother, she admitted. About whether she knew what I was before I killed her. You did not kill her. My first breath stopped her heart. Your first breath was an infant's cry, an involuntary action from a newborn child who had no understanding of the power she possessed. Your father allowed you to believe it was murder because it gave him control over you. Tears burned in her eyes. You do not know that. I know manipulation when I see it. He crouched before her. You are not a monster, Vespera. You are a woman with a terrifying gift that no one ever taught you to use. That is not your failure. That is theirs. She broke. The sob that escaped her seemed to come from somewhere deep, somewhere that had been locked away for 20 years. She fell against him, and his arms caught her as years of suppressed grief poured out. And her power rose with it. The scars on her hands blazed with moonlight radiance. The air around them shimmered. The frozen stream groaned, the ice cracking and reforming in strange patterns. Vespera! Soren's voice cut through the storm inside her. Look at me. She forced her eyes open, expecting to see fear. Instead, she saw wonder. You are glowing, he breathed. I need to stop, she gasped. I need to. No, do not suppress it. Breathe through it. Let me anchor you. I will hurt you. You will not. I am already cold. Your fire cannot burn what is already frozen. His voice dropped to a whisper. Trust me, mate. Let go. Against every instinct, Vespera stopped fighting. The power surged, wild and bright. It poured from her in waves, seeking something to destroy. But instead of finding flesh and blood, it found ice. It found the desolation curse coiled around Soren's heart. And it recoiled. Not in pain, in recognition. By the gods, Vespera breathed. Soren, your curse. It is made of pure cold. And my power is heat, he finished, his eyes wide. Emotion, passion. His hand pressed over his own heart. I can feel it. Your power touched the curse and it retreated, like ice from a flame. The implications crashed over her like a wave. Her father had been wrong. About everything. Her power was not a weapon meant to finish the curse. It was the cure. That is why he collared me, Vespera said slowly. That is why he suppressed my power. Because if I ever learned to use it properly, you could save me. You could destroy the curse he spent years cultivating. Vespera's luminescence faded slowly as her emotions settled, but the knowledge remained. I'm going to kill him, she said calmly. Not before I do. Soren rose, pulling her to her feet. But first, we go north. We learn everything about your power. And then, we go to war. The northern reaches lived up to their name. 7 days of hard riding brought them out of the Thornwood's shadowed depths, across the Ashen Moor's barren expanse, and finally into the frozen highlands where winter never truly released its grip. The air grew thin and sharp, each breath a blade of ice in Vespera's lungs, but Soren seemed to strengthen as they climbed. She lives beyond the Frostfang Pass, he said, as they guided their horses along a narrow cliff path. In a sanctuary carved into the mountain itself. The sanctuary revealed itself at sunset. One moment there was only sheer rock face, the next a doorway shimmered into existence, carved with symbols that made Vespera's scars tingle. Ancient magic. A woman stood in the entrance. She was old, but not frail, her silver hair braided with leather cords, her eyes the pale blue of glacial ice. Boo, Soren. Her voice was wind through pine needles. You bring a sorrow singer to my door. You knew? I felt her crossing the Ashen Moor. That kind of power leaves ripples. Those glacial eyes fixed on Vespera. Your father suppressed you with blood magic. The collar was only the visible chain. There are others, buried deeper. The sanctuary's interior defied the harsh exterior. Warm light glowed from crystals embedded in the walls. Books lined every available surface. I am Thessaly, the old woman said, closing the hidden door behind them. And you have come a long way to find answers. She led them to a circular chamber at the sanctuary's heart. A fire burned in a central pit, the flames an unusual blue-white. The bindings are anchored to your worst memories, Thessaly explained. Your father chose moments of grief, of fear, of shame, and he wove his magic through them. To remove the bindings, you must relive those moments, face them, transform them. And if I cannot, then the bindings remain and your power stays fragmented. Thessaly's voice softened. But you will not be alone. The king will anchor you. Vespera closed her eyes. Soren's fingers continued their gentle movement through her hair. "I am ready," she lied. Thessaly began to chant. The first memory struck like a physical blow. She was 6 years old, crying over a dead sparrow. Her grief was huge, overwhelming. The windows shattered, and her father appeared with cold eyes and a silver collar that burned. "Monster," his voice echoed. "You see what you are?" Then she felt Soren's fingers in her hair, heard his voice cutting through the darkness. "You are a child grieving a small death. There was no monster. Only a father who feared what he could not control." The memory shifted. The shame dissolved. And the first binding snapped. Pain exploded through her spine. The second memory was worse. She was 12, watching from the shadows as her father spoke with a hooded figure. "The curse is taking hold," the figure said. "The king weakens daily." "Good." Her father's voice dripped with satisfaction. "And my daughter?" "The collar suppresses her completely." "Keep it that way. Her power is the failsafe. A sorrow singer's love is poison. He will never see the blade coming." "He never loved me," she whispered. "He never saw me as his daughter." Soren's hands cupped her face. "Then he was blind. Because I see you. All of you. And there is nothing there but light." The second binding shattered. This time, the scream that escaped her echoed off the sanctuary walls. The third memory was the worst of all. She was 17, standing before her father's desk. "Your mother died cursing your name," her father said. "Her last words were begging me to destroy the monster that had killed her." But now, with Thessaly's magic stripping away the layers of deception, she could see the truth. Her mother had not died cursing her. Her mother had died smiling. The memory reformed, showing what her father's magic had hidden. Her mother's face, exhausted but radiant, looking down at the newborn in her arms. Her mother's voice, weak but warm. "My beautiful girl, my gift, my light." "She loved me," Vespera sobbed. "She loved me, and he made me believe." The third binding exploded. Power poured from Vespera like a dam breaking. Radiant energy flooded the chamber. The crystals in the walls sang. The fire roared to impossible heights. And Soren gasped. He was rigid beside her, frost spreading rapidly across his skin. The desolation curse, sensing the threat, was fighting back. "The curse accelerates," Thessaly shouted. "It is trying to kill him before you can strike." "Then tell me how to strike." "You already know how." "Love. Complete, absolute, unreserved love." "Soren." She pulled him close. "I am not going to let you die." His eyes flickered open, gray and glazed with pain. "Vespera, I love you." The words poured out like fire. "I love your cold hands and your broken wolf and your ridiculous honor. I love that you saw me hiding and chose me anyway. I love that you hunted me and then held me and never once made me feel like a monster." Her power surged in response. "I love you. I love you. I love you." The power released. Not in destruction, but in a focused beam of pure, incandescent heat that poured from her heart directly into his. She felt the curse recoil, felt it writhe and scream as her fire touched its ice. Soren convulsed in her arms, and then everything went white. She woke to silence. The sanctuary's circular chamber was dark, the fire reduced to embers. Thessaly sat nearby, watching with ancient eyes. "Soren." Vespera sat up so fast her head spun. "Where is—" "Here." His voice came from beside her. She turned and found him lying on the stone floor, still and pale, but breathing. Actually breathing, without the shallow frost-bitten gasps she had grown accustomed to. "The curse?" she whispered. "Weakened. Not destroyed, but badly damaged. You bought him time." Thessaly rose slowly. But to end it permanently, you must destroy the anchor. The curse was cast with a blood tie to the caster. As long as your father lives, the curse lives. Soren pushed himself upright. Then we kill him. He is protected by blood wards, death hexes, traps designed to destroy anyone who threatens him. He is my father, Vespera said quietly. I share his blood. Can I pass through the wards? Thessaly stared at her. That is theoretically possible. Blood recognizes blood. Then I go alone. No. Soren's voice cracked like breaking ice. Absolutely not. If you come with me, the wards will kill you. I just bought you months of life. I will not watch you throw them away. She raised her hands, pale fire flickering across her palms. My power is unbound now. I am not the frightened girl who fled your bed at dawn. Soren pulled her against him. If you die, I will burn every kingdom between here and the afterlife to find you again. I know. That is why I am not going to die. She left at first light. Thessaly provided maps and supplies. Soren provided the crescent moon hairpin she had left behind that first morning, now threaded onto a silver chain. So you remember what you have to come back to, he said, fastening it around her neck. Vespera pressed a kiss to his jaw. Then she mounted her horse and rode south without looking back. The Voss estate emerged from the evening mist like a bad dream. Vespera had grown up in that sprawling stone manor. It had never felt like home. Now, seeing it through adult eyes, she understood why. Everything about the place was designed to intimidate. She approached the main gate on foot. The iron bars pulsed with dark energy, blood wards activated and hungry. Vespera pressed her palm against the metal. Nothing happened. She pushed, and the gate swung open silently. She found her father in his study. Lord Hadrian Voss sat behind his massive desk, a glass of wine in one hand. He did not look up when she entered. I wondered how long it would take you, he said. Vespera pushed back her hood. You knew I was coming. I knew you would eventually discover the truth. I had hoped the curse would finish the king before you became brave enough to confront me. You used me. My entire life, you used me as a weapon. I shaped you into a weapon. There is a difference. His eyes were amber like hers, but utterly cold. Your kind exist for one purpose: destruction. I simply aimed that destruction where it would benefit me most. Vespera's hands began to glow. You killed his father. You cast the desolation curse. His father was in my way. The old king refused my proposals, blocked my advancement. So I removed him. He spread his hands. The kingdom is stagnant. I would have brought Valdrin into a new age. You would have brought tyranny. Her father studied her with something that might have been pride. You have grown stronger. The bindings are gone. His eyes narrowed. Thessaly, I should have killed that old witch years ago. You will never touch her. The shadows around him intensified. Vespera felt their cold touch against her mind, probing for the fears her father had cultivated. You are a monster, his voice whispered in her head. You killed your mother. You will kill everyone you love. For a moment, the old doubt surged. Then she thought of Soren's hands in her hair, of the crescent moon hairpin warm against her chest. No, she said quietly. The shadows recoiled. I am not the monster you created. I am not your weapon. She stepped forward, power blazing from every pore. I am Vespera, daughter of a mother who loved me with her dying breath, mate to a king who saw me hiding and chose me anyway. And I am a sorrow singer whose love does not destroy. Her father's composure cracked. Fear flickered in his eyes. My love heals. The luminescence intensified until the entire study blazed. And right now, Father, my love is going to end you. She released her power. In righteous fury. In the absolute certainty that this man had stolen her childhood, her mother, her sense of self, and he would steal no more. The radiant fire consumed him. Lord Hadrian Voss screamed as 20 years of dark magic unraveled. Every curse he had cast, every ward he had built, every shadow he had gathered burned away in the face of his daughter's light. And somewhere in the northern reaches, Soren felt the desolation curse shatter completely. Rowena found her afterward. Vespera sat in the ruins of her father's study, surrounded by ash and silence. "Sister." Rowena approached cautiously. "I felt the wards fall. He is gone. The servants are saying you killed him, that you burned him alive. They are not wrong." Rowena knelt beside her. "I did not know about any of it. The curse, your power, what he did to Mother." Her voice broke. "I thought you were dangerous. I treated you like you were broken." "I am dangerous." Vespera finally looked at her sister. But not in the way he wanted. Rowena reached out tentatively. When Vespera did not pull away, she gathered her into a fierce embrace. "Forgive me," she whispered. "Please forgive me." "There is nothing to forgive. He fooled us both." She found him waiting at the edge of the thornwood. Soren sat on a fallen log, his black horse grazing nearby. He looked different, less rigid. When he saw her approaching, he rose so quickly he nearly tripped. "Vespera!" He caught her as she stumbled from the saddle, buried his face in her hair. "I felt it, the curse breaking. It was like breathing for the first time." She held him just as tightly. "It is over. He is gone. I can feel again. Everything." He pulled back to look at her, and she saw tears on his cheeks. Actual tears, warm and wet. "Welcome to being alive. I have you to thank for that." He kissed her, warm lips against hers for the first time, and Vespera felt the mate bond sing with joy. "That is everything, my heart." They returned to Valdren as spring arrived. The kingdom had changed in their absence. The eternal chill that had clung to the royal lands began to thaw. Flowers bloomed in gardens that had been barren for a decade. "The land responds to its king," Thessaly explained when she arrived for the coronation. For 10 years, Soren's curse cast a shadow over everything he ruled. Now that shadow is lifted. "And my power?" Vespera asked. "Will it always be this strong?" "Your power will be whatever you need it to be. You are no longer fragmented. From now on, your emotions will fuel your gifts, rather than fracturing them." Vespera thought of all the wolves in the kingdom who still carried scars from the years of cold. "Then I have work to do," she said. The coronation took place on the first day of true summer. Vespera stood beside Soren on the great balcony, looking out over thousands of gathered wolves. She wore silver and white, colors that had once represented her shame but now symbolized her power. No collar hid her throat. No gloves covered her scarred hands. "Citizens of Valdren," Soren's voice rang across the crowd. 10 years ago, a curse was cast upon our land. That curse has been broken, not by war or conquest, but by love." He turned to Vespera, taking her scarred hand in his healed one. "She came to me hiding. I chose her without seeing her face, and in the darkness between us we found light." His voice softened. "I present to you Vespera, sorrow singer and queen of Valdren, my mate, my heart, my everything." The crowd erupted in joy. Soren leaned close, his lips brushing her ear. "Any regrets?" She thought of that first night, the darkness and the cold. She thought of dawn breaking as she fled. She thought of the hunt, the cave, the moment she had stopped running. "Only one," she whispered back. "I should have stayed that first morning." "You were not ready to stay." "No." She turned to look at him. "But I am ready now." That night they completed what had begun months ago. The mate bond finally solidified as they came together without secrets, without fear. When his teeth found the curve of her neck, marking her as his, her power flared bright and warm, but it did not destroy. It healed. "I love you," Soren murmured against her marked skin. "I will spend the rest of my life proving that love to you." "You already have." Vespera pulled him up to meet her eyes. "You saw me hiding and chose me anyway. You hunted me not to cage me, but to free me." They lay tangled together until dawn, planning a future neither had dared to imagine. A kingdom to heal. A legacy to build. Perhaps someday, children to raise in a world free from curses and collars. "I was afraid to love you," Vespera admitted as the first light crept through the windows. "I thought my love was destruction. And now?" She pressed her hand over his heart. "Now I know the truth. My love is fire. And fire can destroy, yes, but it can also warm. It can also light the way through darkness. It can also forge," Soren added quietly. "Turn raw metal into something strong and beautiful." "Is that what we are? Forged?" He kissed her softly. "We are whatever we choose to be. And I choose to be yours, Vespera. From this day until my last. And I choose to be yours. From this day until my last." Outside the window, the sun rose over a kingdom transformed. The endless winter had finally broken. Spring had come to Valdrin at last. And in the Alpha King's chambers, two monsters who had found each other in darkness finally stepped together into light. 3 years later, Vespera stood in the royal gardens, watching her daughter chase butterflies through the flowers. The child had her father's dark hair and her mother's amber eyes, along with faint luminous marks that glowed when she laughed. "She will be powerful," Thessaly observed from the bench beside her. "Perhaps more powerful than you. Then we will teach her." Vespera smiled as Soren appeared from the castle, immediately dropping to his knees to let their daughter climb onto his shoulders. "We will teach her that power is not a curse. That feeling deeply is a gift. That love, true love, does not destroy. It saves," Thessaly finished quietly. Vespera nodded, tears pricking her eyes as she watched her husband and daughter laughing in the sunlight. "It saves,"